All right. So welcome very much, Alison, Carroll, for joining us today. We're very fortunate to have you in our room. We have a classroom here. We have a number of guests here. And I'm going to ask the people who are with me to come around here and come up here so you can all say hello to Carroll. Because I'm afraid if I spin my computer around, we're going to lose some connection. And LaShondra and Patrick, you can wait because you're going to host in a moment, so you'll be up here, okay? So, oh, Ron, if you don't want to move, I understand. So why don't we come over here so you can see all these faces of the people who are here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very good. And then people who are at a distance.
My class.
Why don't we start with introductions for you? So why don't we say, you know, Yvonne and then Eric's kind of just say who you are and then what you do, okay?
I guess I'll start. My name is Yvonne, and I'm a Technology Integration Specialist at Bethlehem Area School District.
Cool. Eric?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Hi, Alison. I'm from Wilson Area School District. I'm a tech ed teacher. So I'm pretty close to you.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. So, and then the people who are right up here, could you just say your name and then what you're into, what you do?
Okay.
And make sure you're on the screen.
Hi.
And,
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. And say what you do.
I'm Gloria. I'm a graduate student at ESU in Interactional Technology, and I'm also working as a graduate assistant with Beth. Nice to see you.
And Gloria or Jiayan is from China as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm Jen. I'm also a student, and I'm a graduate worker, and that's it.
Excellent. And is an instructional technology student as well.
Okay. I'm Allie. I'm also a graduate student, and I keep getting confused because Beth keeps saying Allison. So, Allison, if I respond, it's because of me. And I'm a graduate student worker for the Department of Academic Enrichment and Learning.
Should prefer people call her Allie.
Yes, Allie.
I'm Brianna. I'm a graduate student, and I work at the Graphics Center at ESU.
My name is Aminata. You can call me Mina for short, and I am in the Instructional Technology program.
And Aminata is from Ghana, or Gambia. And I say that so that you understand sorry, I don't know, it's probably a bad thing and to mix that up. But I say that so you understand the wonderful mix of people we have here. And that we have people who are in education and some people who are going to go into industry, into training, and people who are interested in working with teenagers and people who are interested in working with wee little ones, okay? So we have the full gamut here. We're going to start, Alison, firing questions at you, okay? And I don't know if you look at the Google Doc, but LaShondra and Patrick are going to come up here. You haven't met the two of them yet. And they are going to ask you the questions. And they're right here. You can come on up, each of you. And the rest of you can sit down.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're going to lead your questions. And then I would just say, we have the questions there on the Google Doc, but we don't have to stay to those questions. So if there's something that you hear the answer to the question and you're like, well, I want to hear a little bit more about this, we can do this. So we have about until 6:30. So we have some time, and this is a wonderful time to glean as much information from a person who has experience and has gone into both worlds now. Okay?
Hi, I'm LaShondra. I'm the graduate student worker in the Women's Center here at ESU.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Pat. I'm a graduate student here as well, and I work at the Pleasant Valley School District as a 4th grade paraprofessional.
Do you want to ask her the first question?
Pat, I missed the last part of what you said. Something froze on the screen. Can you say that again?
I'm a 4th grade paraprofessional at the Pleasant Valley School District.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to ask the first question. What made you decide to teach online courses?
Well, I guess the sort of kickstart was that my school district decided to start the Nazareth Cyber Academy and offering online courses right at the same time that I was deciding what I wanted to do for my second master's degree. So it just sort of aligned perfectly that I found out about the Wilkes program in online teaching right at the same time my school district was starting this initiative, and I thought that it would be something that would kind of broaden my potential as a teacher to go into different avenues in my future or not, and that it would. I had taken online classes in the past and had both positive and negative experiences, so I thought that it just kind of sparked my interest, and we went from there, and I've kind of delved in since the summer of 2012 pretty hardcore.
Hi. So, what is the biggest challenge you have teaching students that you never see in person?
Well, I think that that's probably, for me personally, the biggest challenge is feeling like you get to know them in a more personal sense because of the lack of body language and facial expressions with your interactions with them. So I feel like I get to know them really well, but I don't get to know them as a real live being in front of me. I get to know them as their writing style or their thought processes, but not so much that personal interaction. So one of my goals, the course I'm teaching right now, which is my second time teaching online, one of my major goals is to incorporate more video chats like we're doing right now, and more voice authoring with the students using voice recordings to answer questions as opposed to writing all of the time. And that's all my attempt to get to know them better, having them post pictures of themselves. Because, for example, yesterday I went into school to meet with a student face-to-face she asked for a conference for extra help. And I kind of walked into the library like, oh no, am I going to know which kid is her? Am I going to recognize her among 30-some kids sitting at tables? And luckily I did. But it can be hard not seeing that facial expressions every day.
Okay, thank you.
Next question is, which is harder to handle, online classes or face-to-face classes?
I think personally I can't say that one is harder than the other. I think that they each present unique challenges to that format. Personally, my preference for my daily schedule as a teacher would be to have a little bit of both, to have a face-to-face class and an online class, so that I'm exposed to all of those positives and negatives of each format. But I think that the challenges that you face in online learning that you don't face in face-to-face learning is that communication piece. And like I said before, I teach 12th graders, so I'm lucky that I've got those kids kind of at that upper end of high school, so their communication skills are a lot better than if I were, say, teaching 6th graders online. But the challenge of communication, that they need to really be able to advocate for themselves and speak up and ask questions because it's so individual. And, I'm not there walking up and down the row saying, who needs help? They need to be able to send me a message and communicate what they're struggling with to get a response. And they need to be able to communicate in a timely, proactive manner as opposed to a reactive manner. So that's definitely, I would think, a challenge of online learning that is different than face-to-face. And going along with that would be the idea of when I teach an online class, the first couple of weeks or the first month or two are like really intense with student questions and one-on-one help, and constantly needing to be available and very quick with my responses. And then as the course goes and we get to kind of the middle range of the course, they're asking some questions, but it's a little bit less, but there's still that need for extra help. And then when I get to the very end of the course, I feel like they're very self-sufficient and they're asking much less. So that's different than a face-to-face course where there's a big change for the time involved and the one-on-one questions that we answer.
Okay, I don't know if you can see the question that Yvonne popped up in the chat.
Oh, let me see. No, I didn't see that.
Or Yvonne, you could even say it, too.
Oh, sure. I just wondered, and you mentioned the two environments and how teaching them can be different. Have you learned something, maybe a technique, when you've taught online and found that you applied it in your face-to-face class? I didn't know if you had taught both the face-to-face and online at the same time? I believe you mentioned you may have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is by teaching the online version of the course, it helped me to realize how to be very clear and concise with my directions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I can apply that to my face-to-face course. Whereas in a face-to-face course, teachers, we get used to winging it. We get used to answering questions on the spot, and oh, you don't understand what that essay assignment is. Here, I'll just explain it again differently, as opposed to going back and revising your directions in the first place so that they're more clear. So I think teaching online has taught me to be more clear and direct with my directions, and and to try to push my students to be more independent. So as opposed to me with my face-to-face courses, allowing my students to do that bad habits of I hand out the assignment, I go over the directions, and then they go, wait, how long does the paper have to be? And I just said it 2 minutes ago, and it's on the paper in front of you, but yet I'm going to answer it. And then I'm going to answer it again tomorrow when you ask me again. So I try to remember that my online kids manage to read the directions and not ask that question. So why have I answered it 4 times for my face-to-face kids? So I think that sort of teaching style has helped me to push those online kids, those face-to-face kids rather, into that more independent realm.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just going to write in here. You can go ask your question.
Okay, sorry. What is the target audience for your online English class?
At Nazareth, the way they've set up the program is that currently, since we're at the beginning of the program, this is only the 2nd year we've offered online classes. So we are targeting, the courses that we're offering are pretty much all for 11th and 12th graders right now, and they're targeted at students that we feel like could succeed in that format of learning. So students that show skills of self-motivation and self-discipline and time management and reading and writing skills that are necessary to succeed in online learning. Some districts are starting their online programs and they're focusing more on credit recovery, or trying to use it for summer school, or things like of that nature, which I think is they need to approach with caution, because the students that maybe need credit recovery, who failed face-to-face courses, maybe don't have those skills needed to succeed in online learning. So it's definitely, for us, we've gone a different route, and we're focusing more on the college prep level students, and the idea that taking this online class now in high school in a more sort of supportive bubble, where you can meet me face-to-face in the library if you need to, would help them to be exposed to online learning, to figure out whether it's a good fit for them before they go to college and pay for an online class, and then have a professor who's in California while they're in Pennsylvania, and then they realize that they can't handle it, and then they've lost money and grad credit and college credit for it. So I pitch it that way to students, that it's an experience now, so that you can see what it's like, so that you can experience it in the future, either in college or in training in a career.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are your students still like face-to-face as well for other classes, and then they're taking your online class just to get the experience more so?
Yes, that's the scenario for most of the students. We have a mix. So some students they come to school, we have 4 classes a day because of block scheduling, so they might come to school for 3 blocks and have my class online. Other students might be taking my class and the government class, so they have 2 classes face-to-face and 2 classes online. I do have some students who are full-time online right now, and so they don't come to school for any classes. So it's pretty much any combination that you can imagine we have. So
yeah,
it's a nightmare of scheduling. What'd you say?
That's much different than I was expecting. I didn't realize it was set up that way.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
cool.
we do have The goal was flexibility for the students, and that's another reason why we're targeting juniors and seniors right now, because it's real motivating for them to have a free block, first block, and be able to sleep in and then do their English work like in the middle of the night or on their own time. So because they have cars and they can come in late and they can leave early and they can have that free block where they're not scheduled to be anywhere is another motivating factor for some of them. And then other students, like I said, one girl's full-time cyber. She has cancer, so she's at home, battling that and trying to do her schoolwork at the same time. I have other students who, last year, I had a girl who had a baby, so she needed to be home for, a solid 6 weeks. After that, I had a student who was a race car driver who was across the country training. I've had students who were on the junior flyers, so they were like driving to Philly to play hockey every night until late at night. Some of them need the flexibility, and they need that to be able to leave school at 1 o'clock to take their mom to the doctor, or and then others are doing it just because they want the experience. They want to try something different. So it's kind of again a broad range of why the students do it.
See this as like the new norm in the future?
I do, yeah. I keep saying to my principal, I don't know if he's on board or agrees or not, but my perspective is we're still building our courses, so we are only offering 7 classes right now. But in 5 or 10 years, when we have almost all of our courses online or as an option, I want, how guidance counselors are always pushing college prep students, they should be taking foreign language classes. I think college prep students should be taking at least 1 online class before they graduate. And that would be my ideal scenario, because I think for them to be prepared. Now, it doesn't have to be core subject, graduation requirement English, which might be too difficult. It could be an elective course that's a half credit. But at some point in their high school career, I think I would like to see every high school student at least take 1 online class. So we'll see if I can convince them as well.
All right. If the class is for students at Nazareth High School, brick and mortar school, what benefits of taking online courses does your district highlight in order to attract students who take the class in this alternative environment format? A little long, but.
Some of it is, like I said, the flexibility and be able to be, we're targeting seniors right now and juniors, so the ability to leave school. But more importantly, I focus on preparation for college, the preparation for the workforce, that a lot of companies are using online training programs and online courses for training. And we also focus on the idea of independence, and that they can work at their own pace. And not that the class is going to be easier or less time, but it's going to be time when they want to spend the time, and they're going to be able to focus on what's harder for them and go more quickly through what's easier for them. So it's more independent and more honed right in on what they need as a learner. So that's kind of what we focus on.
Okay. What format do you teach your English class? For example, is it synchronous meetings or modules that students complete on their own time?
For me, and the way I approach it, I don't know if it's especially because I'm an English teacher and it's an English class, there's a lot of discussion-based assignments. So my students, everything's in a week-long chunk, kind of like a module, and each week they get these assignments, and they have due dates within that week. So it's not just free reign, get it done by the end of the semester, because I think that would be an absolute disaster with the K-12 scenario. I think it's a disaster with a lot of college students as well, or adults in adult learning, if you just have that free reign. So I have weekly deadlines, but within the week, they do it whenever they want. They do it in the middle of the night, they do it in the morning, they do it in the middle of the day, and that's totally up to them. So as of now, I do not have synchronous meetings required in my course, but one of my goals for this semester as I'm teaching is to include some synchronous learning opportunities. I don't think, being that the whole point of the online course is the flexibility, I don't think I'm ever going to get all 22 students online at the exact same moment, but my goal is, like when we're reading Othello and the students are struggling with the Shakespearean language and understanding the play, I would like to say, okay, this week we're reading Othello Act 1. You have these 5 options for a synchronous meeting. Pick one. And then I might have 5 kids here and 4 kids there, you know, and I'll try to do some synchronous learning, chances for them to talk face-to-face with me about the text. So that's one of my goals, is to incorporate some synchronous meetings, but it's not going to be required for all 22 to be at the same place at the same time electronically. So.
And I want to point out what you said is very valid, Allison, for your what you're doing. Please note, all of your online charter schools mandate synchronous time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any online charter school that does not, and where all 20 are getting together all the time. If you look at the most successful ones, they do mandate. So, but notice that's an online charter school where you have kids taking their whole week online, right? So it's not just one course. So that's where I think you really, you know, thinking about the needs of your particular environment and thinking about, okay, how can I provide that flexibility? And we're talking about being learner-centered right now. How can I be learner-centered in that environment? And that, you know, whether you're dealing with young ones or adults, it's that whole thing, figuring out the needs. So cool. We probably have time for one more question, and then at 6:30, and I promised you we wouldn't keep you forever, although I think we could because you're doing a great job. Before we have our last question from over here, I would just want to say, just Yvonne or Eric or anyone else here, can you think of a question you really want to address with Allison? Have you thought of something you're like, oh, can we get to this one? Okay, no? All right, well then we have our list of questions, so we have plenty here. So I'm going to ask the Patrick and Lysandra to fire away your last question. Go ahead, Patrick.
Okay,
Go ahead. Please go on that.
All right. What tips do you have for someone who would like to teach an online course?
I think that the best way to be prepared to teach online is to take online classes yourself. So one of the other questions was whether or not you need a master's in online teaching in order to teach online, and you do not. But I would say that any teacher who wants to teach online needs to take online classes. And that's how you learn what works, what doesn't work from the student's perspective. You see what professors did that you thought was really helpful, or was not so helpful, or was unclear, or was confusing, or how to organize and set up a course, how to assess. Seeing those examples by being the student, I think, is the best way to prepare yourself. And even better if those online courses are teaching you how to be an online teacher. So I think seeing it and experiencing the online learning from the student perspective as the student is absolutely crucial. And then I think having some amount of training, some amount of education in what is an effective online teacher, because you don't know what you don't know. So until you're out there and until you take classes in it and learn about synchronous versus asynchronous learning, and until you learn about discussion-based learning and building a community in an online classroom and how to do all of those things, you know, you're not going to be the best teacher that you can be. So, and then I guess the other tip would just be embrace flexibility and embrace the format for what it is. That it's not going to be the same as online as face-to-face learning. That it's going to be different, but it's also going to be great in its own way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Clap. Give her something in here. Wow. Thank you. And you know, I want to commend Alison, who really went ahead and she, like a few other people, said, oh, I'm going to get a master's in this early on, kind of before the online revolution kind of took hold of the public schools. We were talking, Alison, before about how it really, this started in the private sector, like in many things, and then kind of has moved to the public school now. But ESU, like many other universities across the state of Pennsylvania, is now offering an online endorsement instructional certificate. And we've done something unique here at ESU for offering that program now. There are 2 courses that are offered through our department and 2 offered through PSED. That's professional and secondary ed. And the reason why I say that is unique is that the people in professional and secondary ed will take a very strong pedagogical look at things. Whereas the people in our area will look at pedagogy a lot, but we'll also look a lot at the tools. So that's kind of a unique program in that. So, and it's a portfolio-based program. But if you're doing your master's in instructional design or instructional technology, and if you're doing a master's even in PSCD, you can kind of get all the courses you need and also get the endorsement as well. So that's kind of a nice little thing. But that endorsement, just so you know, is really for Pennsylvania, okay? And only really for Pennsylvania public school teachers. If you're not a Pennsylvania public school teacher, there's probably no need to pay the extra money to PDE, which is who you have to pay in order to get it. Also, the only way that you can get this endorsement from Pennsylvania State is to actually also have what they call a level 1 teaching certification. So you cannot get it otherwise. You can get the online instruction specialist certification, which is 24 credits of a part of your MED, but you cannot get the endorsement unless you already have that, because they're assuming that you understand pedagogy, okay? That you understand learners and teaching before you get this. So that's just something to keep in mind for those of you who are going that direction. But Alison, I mean, wow, phenomenal. Just thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. And thank you the class as well for asking fantastic questions. Oh my word, the questions are great. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So right now we're a little bit over, but we'll say good night. Does anybody have any closing thoughts? Closing thoughts?
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll try to continue learning as much as possible and critically critique every little bit of our environments. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Good night, Yvonne. Good night, Eric. Good night, Carol. Good night, and thanks tons, Alison.
Thanks. Bye.